Welcome everyone to today's Process Optimization Academy session, where we'll be covering some of the enhancements made to process optimization in the Utah release. Now, just keep in mind that Utah is scheduled to be generally available on March 22nd. Also, we were talking about this as people were joining, just a reminder that we've moved the Academy sessions to once a month in 2023. I've sent out cancellations for most of those other sessions that were on the calendar. It seems that some are not getting those cancellations, but just keep in mind that we're monthly now, not bi-weekly. But we're also trying to augment these sessions with additional content on the community site. So we've already released the first few posts of our use case series on the community, covering things like how to use process optimization to do some multi-hop analysis or rework analysis and channel analysis. So if you haven't checked those posts out, they've got demos attached to them and how-tos, so please do. We've gotten some really good initial feedback on the content there. All right, let's get the Academy logistics out of the way for our newcomers and those who have stumbled upon us for the first time, or maybe just watching the recording. The purpose of these sessions are to help all of us get better educated on ServiceNow's in-platform process mining capabilities. We'll provide how-tos, practical guidance and use cases, product updates like today's session, and just in general as a group exchange ideas and collaborate so we all continue to get better. How the sessions work: we have a scheduled topic that we'll usually cover for the first 30 minutes or so, although I typically go over as much as I try not to. Then we'll open it up to questions on the chosen topic for that session. Then we can just talk about questions above and beyond the day's topics or in office hours. These sessions are recorded and eventually posted on the community, and they're pretty popular, actually. We're getting a ton of views on them, so it feels good to see that people are interested in process optimization. Finally, feel free to post your questions in the Q&A section. For situations where we don't have an answer for your question immediately, we'll follow up and post them to the process optimization community, or maybe we'll use them as a topic for a future session. This is the slide that says anything we say and do here today can't be held against us in the court of law. It's also the slide that says, hey, as part of these conversations, if we make any forward-looking statements about what may be coming in future releases, you should take them as such. Make no decisions based on them because things are always subject to change. I'm sure you've all read the fine print. Just for those newcomers that have not met me before, my name is Dan Grady. I'm part of the product team responsible for bringing process optimization or in-platform process mining to market. So I've been here at ServiceNow for about 7 years in various roles, but this is one of the roles that's been most rewarding for me so far. So happy to be here with you all today. From an agenda standpoint, as always, we'll start out with a little process mining 101. We'll dive into the meat of the session, which is what's new in the Utah release for process optimization. We'll do a quick demo of some of the new enhancements that we've made. We'll get to your questions. We'll talk a little bit about how you can get started after this session if you like what you saw and you want to start digging into process optimization on your own. And then we'll share some additional resources that are out there above and beyond this session for you to learn more of the in-platform process mining. All right, as always, quick process mining 101 for the newcomers. With everything we do, there's a design and desired path in our minds for how it should work and how things should play out, whether it be planning an event like these Academy sessions or a workflow or business process. And when you design things, you design for efficiency as well as completeness to provide the best experience possible for everyone. Unfortunately, what we design isn't always what ends up happening in reality. The reality is that not all work flowing through the process is going to take the optimal path. And that's going to have a negative impact on the experience that both the employees requesting service have, as well as the people working the process have. And, identifying what is actually happening within our workflows and then improving upon them isn't always the easiest thing. What in-platform process mining or process optimization allows us to do is use the audit log data that is generated as records move through a given workflow on the ServiceNow platform to create a visual representation of what is actually happening within a given process. And this new level of visibility is going to help us accelerate our ability to identify inefficiencies, non-conformant process activities, and ultimately improvement opportunities. So process mining is going to give us that ability to answer process questions that have historically been pretty challenging to answer. So where traditional analytics has allowed us to answer a lot of the what questions about our processes, process mining helps us answer the whys. So things like, where is our process stuck? Where is the rework happening? Where are tickets bouncing back and forth between groups? And where aren't we conforming to the process that we've designed? All these things have historically been pretty difficult for us to answer, and even more difficult in some cases to act upon. Now we can answer these questions in just a couple of clicks. So we like to say that process optimization is going to get you to the why behind all of your KPIs. And in doing so, it's going to empower every process participant to make data-driven decisions about which improvements they should be making. All right, on to today's topic. What's new in Utah for process optimization? I'll run through the enhancements individually in slides first, and then we'll jump into the instance and take a live look at some of them. So you may or may not know, process optimization was initially released in Quebec, and we've made rapid and significant enhancements to the solution over the last few releases. And of course, Utah is no different. If we look at some of the themes that we're focused on from a product perspective, they're accelerating time to first improvement, increasing adoption by making it easier for more people to consume the improvement opportunities, and then expanding process optimization's coverage to include all workflows running on the ServiceNow platform. We took another step in that journey in Utah by adding field service management support in Utah. The key enhancements we'll focus on today are, one, the ability to create a custom dashboard and easily add it to a process optimization project. Something we call activities of interest that'll allow you to create more robust finding definitions. We've improved the histogram capabilities, including the ability to drill down. You're not supposed to have favorite enhancements, but this is my favorite. Don't tell the other enhancements that this one's my favorite. We've made the transition filters on the workbench more robust, so things you could only do before in finding definitions are now possible in a more ad hoc manner as you're working with the workspace. And then on multidimensional mining maps, we've improved the readability a bit. They were getting cluttered before. And we've added support for breakdowns and variance analysis on the child tables in those more interconnected processes that we visualize. So one of the most requested enhancements that is delivered in Utah is that ability to customize the dashboard on a summary and insights page of a project. The benefits of this enhancement are twofold. The first important thing to note is that prior to Utah, you could customize the dashboard, but to make any adjustments, you had to have UI builder skills, which not everyone has. So in Utah, you can create your dashboard in the platform analytics workspace, which more people tend to be comfortable with. So that's super helpful. And then the second improvement is the ability to configure these dashboards at a project level in addition to at a process level. So if you start to think about projects being focused on helping us answer a few key questions about a process, this ability to align a specific dashboard that highlights key metrics related to the analysis that we're doing makes a ton of sense as we look to tell that more complete story to all of the process participants that might be involved. Now, one of the most powerful aspects of process optimization is the ability to create process level insight cards using finding definitions. Finding definitions, if you're not aware, we have a whole nother session on them, but real quick, they're preset rules that you can apply to a set of records, whether incidents, requests, any sort of case. And they collect and highlight inefficiencies, right? That's what they're designed to do, is highlight very specific inefficiencies in your process. Things like multi-hop or ping pong issues or processes that are bypassing steps can be highlighted right up front on that summary and insights page for somebody who's doing some analysis of the project. Now, prior to Utah, all the process data that you wanted to use to power one of these finding definitions needed to be included as an activity in your process model and visualized on the map. So if you're not familiar with activities, activities are kind of the nodes that you see. Typically, you're using state on the map or assignment group. But the more activities you have, and you include on your process map, the busier it gets. And it sometimes might get more difficult to interpret the map itself or see opportunities in the map itself. So in Utah, we've added this ability to mark an activity as an activity of interest. And then what that allows you to do is use the value from an activity field in a contextual finding rule without actually displaying them on the map. So for example, maybe I want to highlight P2 incidents that were assigned to my group initially, but then they transferred out. But I don't really want to see priority as a node on my map, get visualized on my map. I can do that now. This added flexibility allows us to create more robust finding definitions to streamline your process analysis efforts and really help you answer more detailed questions about what's actually going on. Now, next one. In Tokyo, we added a histogram to the analyst workbench to provide some initial distribution analysis of the work that was flowing through different transitions on the process map. What we've done in Utah is we've extended the histogram support to include both duration and repetition buckets. So this is going to allow you to pinpoint specific sets of work that are either long runners or the ones that are coming in and out of a specific state or assignment group or activity more than once. So in addition to the ability to see these new outliers, you also have the ability now to drill down and filter the map for just those to show you the specific paths taken by those outliers. And we'll look at this in the demo, but it's a really useful feature for those of you that are digging into the data on the process map itself. Now, the histogram is one of many ways that you can manipulate the analyst workbench. Another is by using transition filters. And in Utah, we've enhanced the transition filters capabilities to allow you to create more complete and complex scenarios that include time constraints or maybe multiple chains, kind of working like an and clause for different chains that you want to be putting together from a transition perspective. So, for example, maybe you're only interested in tickets that are sitting on hold for a minimum of 36 hours. Before, you had to do that in a finding definition. Now you can do that as an ad hoc use case on the map itself. Or maybe you've got cases that take more than a day to assign, but then less than a day to resolve, to get from kind of in progress to resolve. We have to be able to do better in those scenarios, right? So those are the types of things that you can now do in an ad hoc manner on the map with this new enhanced transition filtering capability. Also in Utah, we've done some work to improve the experience of working with multidimensional maps, analyzing interconnected processes like, let's say, HR onboarding cases. One key enhancement is the ability to see the breakdown and variation analysis on the child tables and subtasks. So breakdowns are really good at giving you a lot of contextual information about the type of work flowing through a given process, and being able to get this contextual information on a larger scale now is going to help you when you start analyzing some of these more involved processes inside of your organization. All right. Last topic I want to touch on before we jump into the instance is the expansion to include process optimization coverage for field service management. As I mentioned at the beginning, one of our goals is to provide coverage for all ServiceNow workflows, and this is just another step in that journey, right? We currently support ITSM, HR, customer, and industry workflows, as well as App Engine. So if you've created any custom applications and you want to apply process optimization to those applications, you can do that. And now we've kind of added field service management. By the way, I'll just point out the next session next month is going to be a deeper dive on this field service management, process optimization for field service management. Just a little plug for that session that's going to be coming up. And I also want to just mention, as we're on this topic, if you're interested in mining a workflow for improvement opportunities that we don't currently have support for, please let us know. Add a comment to the section of this community post once it's out there, or post it on the community. It'll really help us prioritize our efforts in this area of getting that complete coverage. So let us know if you're interested in other areas. Super helpful to have your input on those topics. All right, so those are the major new enhancements in Utah. Let's jump into an instance and take a look at a few of them. I'm over here to my instance. Hopefully I haven't been logged out. And you'll see the first one right there on the screen. You'll notice I've got a pretty unique dashboard inside of this project for this Utah Academy session, right? You're used to seeing things like first call resolution rate and MTTR. This is a dashboard that I quickly threw together for myself for this specific Utah Academy session, and I updated it. So where did I set this dashboard? Well, what we can do is let's just jump over here into the Utah Academy session project. I'll edit that project. And what you'll see is at the project level field or project level record now, I've got the ability to add a KPI dashboard. So any of the dashboards that have been shared with me or available as part of the platform analytics workspace are going to be available in this KPI dashboard list now. So I can set it here, or, and this is at the project level again, or if you wanted to create a custom dashboard and align it to a specific process. So anytime somebody uses the incident table, this is the default dashboard they use. You're going to have the same field now at that process configuration record, or in that process configuration record. For those that have not seen the platform analytics workspace yet, I'll just show you real quick what that might look like. Significantly easier than trying to adjust things, in my opinion, inside of UI Builder. So I come over here to the platform analytics workspace. I go to dashboards. Here is that dashboard that I created for myself to add to that project. I'll open that up. And if I just wanted to add another widget to that screen, I can come in here, hit edit. Maybe I want to add a new element. We'll call it a heading. Take this one here. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Move it up. That's really going to mess with things. I'll put it here. And then we'll just kind of say, hey, we'll make the smaller. We'll hit save. Now that I've got that new dashboard saved, if I came back here to my Utah Academy session and loaded that up, and you'll see that my dashboard has been updated. So a lot easier to add your custom dashboards to a project that you're doing. Again, projects, we really want to start thinking about projects at answering a very specific question or doing very specific analysis and aligning the right KPIs and other additional information beyond the process mining data is super helpful for a process participant that or SME that's not really digging into the map itself. Now let's next jump on over to look at, I'm going to say my favorite again, but the histogram support. So what I can do here is let's just kind of come in here and pick any transition. Let's take this in progress to resolved, right? And I've got this, I'm going to click on this, and you'll notice now that I've got my histogram showing me that, hey, of those 6,900 records, the majority of them are falling into that 0 to 2 day duration bucket here. Right, and we can look at this broken down by duration, but I can also look at this now by repetition. So, hey, how often are things taking this trip? The majority of them, again, are taking this trip just once, but I do have some that have made this trip more than once, and even 5 records that have taken this trip 3 times. So that's one of the changes here, is this switch from just having duration to repetitions. Now, with the duration and repetitions, I also now have this ability to drill down on these. So look at these outliers over here. I got 155 that are taking longer than 2 weeks and 2 days, or between 2 weeks and 2 days, and 8 months and 3 weeks to go from in progress to resolve. Maybe I just want to focus in on them. So I can click on that and hit apply filter, and it's going to narrow it down to just those records that took that trip or are taking that amount of time inside of there. So super helpful when you start looking at those outliers and wanting to dig in. And now I could always come over here and look at my breakdowns for just those 155 to see if there's some of the contextual information around what potentially is causing that, or what categories those long runners belong to. It looks like almost a third of them are part of this IT business service piece here. And now I can clear this filter. So we'll say clear all. And maybe we want to look at another one. Maybe we want to look at, hey, let's look at awaiting caller info. And now let's look at repetitions. Right? So maybe I want to look at things that are coming into awaiting caller info more than twice. So I can come in here and I can start clicking on these and multi-select all of these things here and say, hey, for all of these, let me just look at the ones that are going into awaiting caller info more than 2 times. And now I've narrowed it down to just look at those. Really, to me, super helpful when I'm digging into the data. Another good one maybe would be to, let's say, come over here. And I'm just going to use my breakdown analysis to start narrowing this, my bottleneck analysis, sorry, to start narrowing this down to say, let's look at the things that are going from resolved to in progress And here's a sneak peek at the new transition filter. So just looking at these transitions, that transition there from resolved to in progress, I'll hit apply chain, come in here. And now for these ones going from resolved back to in progress, maybe I only want to look at the ones where that's happening more than once and hit apply. All right, and now I can start seeing which groups, or using my breakdowns again, categories, groups that might have an issue in this area where things are getting reopened more than once. So super powerful, in my opinion, the histogram and the ability to drill down on that histogram and the addition of that repetitions option inside of there. Next on the list, let's take a look at that transition. I already gave you a little bit sneak peek, but if we come over here to transitions, you've already noticed that the interface has changed slightly, right? It's given us a lot more flexibility. Before we were just kind of building out the steps, and we'll do that again, but we also now have the ability to add some contextual conditions and restraints inside of here. So let's take a use case like maybe I want to look at incidents where it's taking a long time to get assigned and a short time to then get resolved, right? That's an opportunity we think there. See if we can shrink the assignment time. So let's say we'll filter it down to say, let me look at just incidents is new, and we'll make that first. And then we'll add another activity. So after new, eventually or directly followed by, let's say, is assigned. But I want to add some constraints. I'm only interested in the ones in which it's taking longer than a day to get assigned. So those things are like, why can't we assign it within a day? We should be able to shrink that time. Let me look at those long running ones, or things that are taking a long time to get assigned. And then a quick time after they're assigned to get to resolution. So we'll add another activity. We'll say eventually followed by the state is resolved. So eventually followed, but I want to add a constraint there now to say, hey, it gets resolved in maybe less than a day or 2 days, we'll put in here. So a little bit more power than we had before. You'll notice I only have state here in my dropdown. If I were to add some other activities to the map, like assignment group, you would see assignment group in here. If I added priority as an activity, you would see priority in here. I've in this project only added state, but you've got some flexibility. So I've got the constraints now added to this transition filter list, and then I can also add to this chain. So maybe, you know what, I want to add to this chain where the complete process, so those conditions, but I also want to just make sure that the complete process is taking longer than, let's say, 4 days. So create is created, add another activity, eventually followed by process end. And we'll just make sure that this is first, and add a constraint of, hey, things that are less than, actually we'll say more than 4 days, or maybe 5 days. Sorry, that's the wrong way. We'll say 5 days. And hit apply all chains. So this kind of acts as an and. I've got two chains. It's going to act as an and. It's going to run in the background as you've seen, but you've got, and we'll wait for that one to finish up for us, but you'll now kind of, it'll go through the mining exercise, but you can see there that we've got a lot more power in how we do some ad hoc analysis on the map. We don't always have to do a finding definition and then remine everything how to go. So we'll come back to that one in a little bit. Now let's take a look at activities of interest. So I'll come back over here to my summary and insights page, and you'll notice that I've got some activities, different finding definitions on the screen. One of them being P1 incidents that were downgraded during the process. And I had 75 of those that met that criteria of, hey, at one point during the process, it was a P1, which got everybody all excited, but then we transferred it to something else. So if I come in here, and this is a good example of sometimes for folks that are have really spent a lot of time with reporting in their lives, and they're thinking about like, hey, what makes process mining a little bit different? It's use cases like these where we're actually analyzing where things are changing during the process. So in that case there, it started in this use case here, these 75 incidents at one point were flagged as a P1. But if I use my breakdowns now, on, let's say, priority, they'll notice at the end of this, when the record was finished and completed, none of these 75 were sitting in a P1 state. So if you were running a report against this data, you would not see that any of these were ever P1s. You just see their final state. But we've been able to, with process mining, dig into the process and see at a certain point in time, it was a P1 and now has finished in a different state. So what does this look like if you're configuring this? And you'll also notice, I'll point out, that you don't see priority on the map, right? This is where we're using that activity of interest. We're using priority as part of our finding definition or our rule to filter the data, but we're not actually seeing it on the map itself. And how did we accomplish that? Let's come over here to the project. We'll hit edit. Look at our finding definition. So if you remember, out of the box with the content packs, we give you a bunch of process level finding definitions to help jumpstart you in this area and on your analytics journey when it comes to finding improvement opportunities. You also have the ability to create your own. These process level will come anytime, in this case, somebody uses or builds a project against the incident table. But then in Tokyo, we added that ability for you to add project level finding definitions. So not for every project, but just for this specific analysis that we're doing. And here you'll see my P1 incidents downgraded during the process finding definition. If I open that up, what you'll see here is I've created this finding rule. And the finding rule comes in here. If I open up this record, we'll see it starts out saying, hey, I want to look for things where P1, it was a P1 at some point and the state wasn't closed. And then it was eventually followed by the record being closed. And if I look here, you'll see I've got my field condition, state is not closed. And then down here, I've added a contextual condition of priority is P1. Again, you didn't see priority on the map, but it's a value that I can now use. How did we get there? Well, if we come back to the project itself, let's just come back to the project itself. I got lost in my backclicks. Come back to the project itself and say edit. I want to show you where you set that flag of saying, hey, we want to use this thing in our finding definitions, but we don't want to see it on the map. And that's where you come over to your table configurations. And those of you that have built projects before, you're probably familiar with this. We come here and we'll open up our incident table. And you'll see down here, I've got activity definitions of state, priority, and CI. And you'll also know that these are flagged as, hey, state, not an activity of interest. These other two are activity of interest. So let's just open up that priority one. Open up the record. And now when you're setting your activities, you've got this additional checkbox of activity of interest. Again, means I want to use it in finding rules, but I don't want to display this as a node on the map or a transition that you're seeing on the map. Super helpful for more advanced use cases within your finding definitions and your finding rules. All right, last thing that I want to touch on here today from a feature perspective is some of just one of the changes to the multidimensional map. So if I come over here to my HR onboarding analysis project and I open that one up, and if I come into my analyst workbench, one of the things that'll jump out to you, it's going to seem like a little thing, but it actually goes a long way. You'll notice here the arcs between the map, the different, tables on the map or processes on the map. They're now hiding behind the boxes. Before they were overlapping and it made it really difficult to read some of the information or see some of the information on the map. So we've done a little bit of cleanup on the arcs on the map itself. But one of the bigger things to think of here is kind of looking at your breakdowns and your variation analysis. So whereas in Tokyo, you could only see your parent level breakdowns and variation analysis. Now in Utah, you have the ability to look at the breakdowns for your child tables. So if I come here to pre-boarding task, or day one tasks, I can look at the breakdowns and the variation analysis for those subtables or sub processes, if you will. You don't have the ability to filter on them as you do with the parent table, but you do have the ability to view them, which again, lots of additional contextual information that'll help you do your analysis with working with these more involved processes. All right, that's it from a demo perspective. Let's come back over here to the slides. And I'll just open it up. I haven't been checking the chat, but does anybody have any questions that you want to ask at this point in time? Any questions about anything that you see in there today? Any comments or feedback that you want to share? You can take yourself off mute or put it in the chat.
All right, this is Raj. I have a question.
Sure. What's up, Raj?
Yeah, so you did mention that there would not be a need to use the UI builder, and I know stuff can be created, widgets can be created in platform analytics and brought in. Is that specific to certain things, or is it generally true that you can use all the platform analytic widgets directly in UI builder in process optimization?
I don't specialize in that area, so I don't want to give you wrong information. To my knowledge, you should be able to build widgets inside of there and use them inside of the dashboards as well as UI pages you're creating in UI builder. But again, it's not my area of expertise, so I don't want to say I'm 100% confident of that answer. But it's a good question to kind of maybe post on the community and see if you can get a more confident answer than the one that I just delivered.
Okay, fair enough.
Sure. Yeah.
The other question that I had, if I may, is what about process mining for combo workflows? For example, we have part of the workflow in virtual agent, and then in some cases, the virtual agent cannot do a self-serve, so it has to be handed over as an incident to, let's say, the service desk. How do we mine these?
Yeah, so good use case to look at. It's really going to be a question of where is the audit data that we want to use to build that map. So obviously, once it becomes an incident, we've got how it's changed on the incident, and then it came from the virtual agent. If you look at a virtual agent conversation, we'd be thinking about the interactions there, and we just have to see if and there would be a linkage, right? The interaction has a reference to the incident that was created, if I'm remembering correctly. If there's a linkage between those two records, we could build that multi-dimensional map potentially using either the reference field or the child record as the connection between the two. So it would be, we'd have to look at the use case and dig in. I've not went through that one specifically yet to see how it would play out. But I would also bring it back to kind of what is the question that we're trying to answer with the analysis. From an inefficiency perspective, potentially what we would be trying to answer would be, hey, where is the virtual agent falling down and we need to create these incidents? And that, if that's the question we're trying to answer, you might not need the interaction piece. You just look at the incidents that were created by virtual agent as the channel and start focusing there.
Yeah, the high level thing that we're looking for is like, look at our workflows in one place, right? So, I mean, if you can see the virtual agent side and also the incident side in one pane, in one process optimization model, that would be the ideal thing. And I don't yet see that it is possible, but I'll kind of dig into this.
Cool. It's a good one.
Alrighty, that's it from me. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks, Raj. Anyone else have any questions, comments, things you want to talk about? Just double check the chat. Cool. All right. So some additional resources. Oh, was there a question?
Yeah, Dan, I see some people raising their hands. Maybe you have to allow them to talk. Don't know.
Got it. Can. Okay, hold on. Allow to talk. Kim, I got you. Allow to talk. Who else has got their hand? Catherine's got their hands. Allow to talk. All right. Sorry, I wasn't checking the attendee list. I was just looking in the chat. Go ahead, Kim. You were first on the list. You might have to unmute yourself. I think I allowed you to unmute yourself. Catherine, you want to try?
Yeah, hi, Dan. Yeah. Hello. Can
Hey,
you hear
how are
me?
you? Yes, I can.
Good. Okay. Yeah, I just have a question. I'm not sure if this is if maybe this is a nonsense question, but we are actually working on some of the custom application for our clients. And I just want to know if we can extend the functionality given that we can utilize the process optimization application for custom apps. Or
Sure.
yeah.
So love the question. And the answer is, I'll give you a two-part answer. The answer is absolutely yes. They would require process optimization for App Engine licensing. So they would need to work with their account team on that. And then the technical part of it would be for those applications, do you have audit tracking turned on for the tables? Because again, remember that is the fuel that drives the visualized map. Are we capturing the changes on those records that we can then visualize? So from a technical side, check to see that you have auditing turned on for the tables driving that application. And then from a licensing perspective, they should work with their account team to obtain the entitlement for App Engine.
Okay, thank you. There's another one question. For TSM, TSM is intended for telecoms, right? And this is for mobile network something. So does it also cater to have the process optimization, given that it extends, I believe, to using the incident or the ITSM?
Yep. So for the customer and industry workflows, we support that. The customers can obtain process optimization rights via the enterprise bundle for those industry SKUs, industry products, or they have the ability to add process optimization as an attached to their professional version of those licenses as well. So yeah, it should be fine there.
So it should be for professional and enterprise.
Yeah, there'll be an uplift on the professional, an additional thing that they have to license, but it's available.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Thank you. That's all.
You're quite welcome. Great questions. Kim?
Yeah, so this is Kim Sells. I didn't have a question. I didn't know if I was.
Oh, you were just high-fiving me. I love it.
No, I didn't know if I was the only Kim on here. So.
Oh, that's great.
I really love the presentation, though. Learned a lot.
Perfect. Thank you, Kim. High five back. Looks sweet. I've got a question coming in via the chat. Oh, it's about, it's a really good question. So a question came in about why not provide a third dimension or 2x2 histogram with duration and repetitions in one view in order to see immediately the long runnings with frequency. Great piece of feedback, Roman. That's certainly something that I'll bring up with the product team. I love the idea. So that's a very good piece of feedback. Maybe when we do the Vancouver update, that might be something that's now added to the list, or a new feature. So really appreciate that that input and that feedback. Thanks, Roman. Anyone else got a question or something that they wanted to bring up? And now I'll just check over here to see if there's any other hands raised. Nope. All right. So just in terms of additional resources, this has been on the screen for a little while now, but there is a Now Learning course called Process Optimizations Essentials out there. So if you go to the Now Learning site, it's about 90 minutes self-paced. If you do it at 2x speed, you can get through it in 45 minutes, though, if you're interested. We've got a really good Now on Now white paper. We've applied process optimization here at ServiceNow to about 30 processes internally at this point. And this white paper details the efforts that we've went through to stand up that process mining program here at ServiceNow, as well as 5 or 6 of the different processes and the findings that we had when we first got started. There's a really nice Forbes article out there written by our own Vijay Kotu, or Chief Analytics Officer, on the transformative power of process mining on employee experience. We do have a community forum specifically focused on process optimization. I hope that's how many of you found us here today. If you're interested in things or topics and questions, please post them on that forum. We'll get them answered usually within a day for you. And then there's also lots of other additional content out there for you. I mentioned earlier that use case series that we started out. These are short 5-minute videos on typical or different types of analysis that people use process optimization for. So we've got 5-minute recordings for ping pong or multi-hop analysis, channel analysis, and rework analysis out there today. We're looking at things like canceled records and other types of use cases. If you're interested in the use case, please go to that series, post it, post your question or your use case down there, and we'll work to get a short little video out there for you. And then also there's in addition to these Academy sessions, we've got a really good live on now getting started with in-platform process mining session. So it really walks you through in an hour, the plugins that you need to turn on, how to set up your first project, and kind of some of the use cases and value you can get out of the product. So those are some additional resources for you to check out above and beyond what we talked about here today. And then last chance for romance, last chance for questions. Anybody got anything else that they want to talk about here today or ask today? Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, so this Kim, so where is this going to be posted, your deck?
Perfect question. So the recording and the deck will be posted on the process optimization community. And right at the top of that process optimization, if you go to ServiceNow.community or community.servicenow.com and just search for process optimization, there's a specific product hub for process optimization itself. And then there'll be an article for the Process Optimization Academy, which will have I think we've done 11 other sessions prior to this one. So all the recordings of the 11 other sessions and the PowerPoint presentations are posted up there. I'll probably get this one out there by the end of today. So you'll have the recording, the slides on the community site for you as well.
Perfect.
Cool. Anyone else have any questions, comments, thoughts, or feedback before we call it a day? We're good? Awesome. So just to wrap up, as I mentioned earlier, coming up in a month, not in 2 weeks, but in March, right? We moved to the monthly model. We're going to have the product manager for field service management join us, Rob Schaefer, to do a deeper dive on process optimization for field service management and some of the use cases and value there for you. Then the plan right now is after that, one of the things that we're learning as we talk to more customers is that they're really getting a lot of value out of the connection between performance analytics and process optimization. So if you're not familiar, you could be on a performance analytics dashboard with the KPI that's on there. And right from that dashboard, if you see an outlier, let's say a spike in SLA breaches, you want to drill down and mine just the data behind that spike. You can drill down and mine that data right from the analytics hub behind that widget that you're seeing at the dashboard level. All you really need to do is configure a performance analytics template for that table. Out of the box, we provide them with the content packs, but you may want to create your own templates or just those templates. So we want to make sure that we cover kind of what those templates look like, how to create them, how to tweak them for your organization, because it is a performance analytics and process optimization are very complementary solutions, right? You've got the what's going on with performance analytics, but then when you want to understand why those things are happening, the drill down into process optimization is really powerful. And then in May, right now, the idea would be to kind of, we've got 7 sessions scheduled at Knowledge for process optimization. There's going to be lots of conversation, lots of insightful use cases probably are going to come up. I think it'll be a useful session to take some of the learnings from Knowledge, some of the conversations, bring them back to this group and just highlight some of the things that came up in those conversations. But we'll see. That's always subject to change. But I think that's something that I think will be a good session for everyone that might not be able to make it to Knowledge. And then last thing, although the Process Optimization Academy is awesome, there are other academies out there that are also almost as awesome, things like the Platform Academy, Virtual Agent Academy, Platform Analytics Academy, and the Mobile App Academy. So if you liked what you saw here and you're interested in other areas of the ServiceNow platform, there are other Academy sessions for you to go check out. Really appreciate everyone's time and attendance today. I hope you got some value out of this session, and I look forward to talking to you in a month. Happy mining, everyone.